yeah. Welcome back, everyone. You are part of an interesting show. You are part of an interesting dynamic that is occurring on our internets. So welcome one, welcome all. So glad to have you here. You are a member of the Fellowship of the Crumb. All of you that are here, I recognize you guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's get this thing going. How about that? Yes, technology is working. Thank goodness. All right. You know, it's training. You make an effort, and you learn a little more. You learn a little more. You learn a little more. And now I am a live streamer. I'm a vlogger, and I am General Breadcrumb. I am the top crumb. I am the crumb among crumbs. I am the project manager of this amazing project called the Breadcrumbs Project, and all of you guys are active members, providing incredible information and giving your fellow members of the crumb such amazing resources, help and guidance during some times that frankly would be very confusing to all of us if we didn't have each other, because we see the signs in the sky. You know, we hear the ringing in our ears. We have the elevated dreams. We have the higher emotions that all of us are experiencing. Some of us are having headaches, flashes when they close their eyes. Why? Because the frequency of the planet is increasing, and that's due to sun activities. There's something next to the sun generating all kind of activity that is impacting us. So we're going to be going over all of that today. Also, I have not forgotten about the musical experiment that we're going to be doing. And I've been thinking about it, in the back of my head, giving it cycles. And that's one thing we're not allowed to do anymore, by the way, is think. You have to have all the answers right when somebody asks you, or else, boom, canceled. Thank God I watched Time Team for, I guess, 12, 13 years now to get an idea of how actual research happens and the slow evolving thing, and that your initial conclusions off of observations can often be wrong. Because everything lacks context. Once you get context, you're able to experiment, you're able to reproduce things in the lab, then you have true understanding where you can speak of it. And that's what we're doing here. I mean, this is an active lab. We are doing constant discovery in science. And we're also tapping into philosophy and ancient religions. And the word religion now is not the same as it was back when, thousands of years ago, when every practitioner of spirituality and protecting the souls always looked to the sky for information. It was only up until recent times that there were writings to base a religion off of. And the one quick one is the Torah, but you also have Sanskrit and then Indian and Tibetan philosophies that were initially all astrologically based, and as time goes on, telephone happens in translation, so things have to be written down, and then we all go by what's written down because we forget all of the rituals and understandings that went behind the writings, because the people that wrote them will assume that these things would just be passed on. Well, here we are in modern times, completely lost on purpose, because this time is the time of your soul. You can't worry about somebody else's soul. If that other soul wants to be saved in whatever manner they deem, well, that's their thing, man. You can't tell someone how to be saved. You can provide information, and the conversation can continue if everything is going in a positive direction. I'm a pretty pragmatic guy. Even though I'm very spiritual, much like Partha, I'm a skeptic. Never believed in UFOs up until this year. Really loved yoga, the physical and the spirituality of it, but not understanding the nature of it, not understanding the nature of astrology and the zodiac, and just not having a clear understanding of all of that. And then we have a master of those things in Partha who just gives us such wonderful lectures and education. All of this is for a reason, because it means something. It means that great events are in fact happening. There's just no doubt about it. And we're going to spend some time with our friend Wage at Wage's World. I sent him an email this morning because I'm using a bunch of his material. And so I introduced myself, I introduced us, and let him know we're using his material, and we appreciate his manner of education. So hopefully I'll hear back from him, and hopefully in the positive. But he thinks like we do. You watch his videos, he's into spirituality. He's left the modern Christian movement behind. He understands Yeshua, wants to get to know Yeshua much better, and is on that spiritual journey as well as that scientific one. But he's the one that has shown me the Schumann tool and the Schumann resonance, and how the sun impacts our vibrations here on Earth, and that's how we can actually scientifically measure it. And yeah, there's no doubt about it. The frequency on this planet is being elevated. So the one human frequency is there, and there comes another one, and there comes another one, and there comes another one. And this is why we get a lot of ringing in our ears, and some things that just don't feel right. And we're having different manifestations of that. Hey Nemesis, good morning. Harshal. Hey Emma. Thank you, Emma. Good morning, everyone. And our mods, Nemesis, Captain Realist. Thank you for all the work that you guys do. And this will be in the same manner. When I finish this video, I'll close this video up, and then we'll reopen the chat. You know, it's really incredible how that chat works. Sometimes there's no activity going on. Then when people have time, the conversations that happen there are just, that is a continuation of the show I do. I mean, it's become a show, and I like it. I like putting on a show, guys. The mixer comes in today, going next level. I have my cabling set, so that's why we're not having problems with music and not hearing me. I've got all that worked out, and now the mixer is just going to give me that extra quality, and then little by little build up the equipment to really have a dynamic and impressive and often mistake-ridden live stream. But I like quality. I like quality information. I like quality data. I like quality presentation. I like clarity. So, we're going to be working through a lot of these details over the next, hopefully, several years. Because from our understanding of the QMAP, we are, we're going to be experiencing this over the next 3 to 4 years, maybe, 3 to 4 years from now, from 2020. Also, in the show description, the show notes, I left the link to where the original downloads are to the Deep State Mapping Project. All right. So the link to get good quality and current QMAP, Q keys is here on Deep State Mapping Project. And so here is the Q key that we use. And here we are on the bottom right hand corner, guys. That's us. We'll be using that more along the way to, again, reestablish ourselves. But there's a lot of different manifestations of what the Q is. And I'm down for the Q, man, because everything that Q's talked about is happening. So this, to me, personally speaking, and to many of y'all in the group, is comforting, because the things that I was seeing is spoken of in the Q maps that we use. This is the energy map that they're currently working on. And so everything that you want for downloads, and the Deep State Mapping Project is here, and the link is down below. So take advantage of it. All right, and so let's get rid of. Well, no, let's not. Let's not. This is part of the queue. Acting DNI. DNI is Director of National Intelligence. Grenell. A lot of people think that he may actually be the Q. Maybe, maybe not. Hopefully he is. But it's definitely a large organization, and it's generating even a large organization that has no actual affiliations to each other, and there's no money trail. So the Q is fantastic, and it's wonderful to be a part of, and an active part of. What Grenell is talking about in this Fox interview is that, in Nemesis, you said this a while back, that the Democrat Party and the Republican Party are both wings of the same beast. And the Director of National Intelligence, Grenell, here, who's been inside the belly of the beast since at least 2001. In 2001 is when he got his first national security briefing. So when you have that is you've entered the deep state. Once you have a national security briefing, you're in the bubble. And so he's been at it since 2001, and he is our kind of people. He is a conservative. He's gay. He's married to a man. There you go. But otherwise, not even otherwise. I mean, that's part of humanity. There's it's who we are, and he's learned to work within it and generated and garnered a lot of respect, and in the process has done a lot of amazing work. And one of the best things he did was release all the information that we've seen over the last 4 weeks that has cleared General Flynn and has Senator Lindsey moving heaven and earth now to clear up this deep state issue. So the Q and moving to the fifth dimension is not going to be a sudden thing. It's going to be something that we're going to work within humanity to do. So all of you that are looking for the sudden event, it's just not going to happen like that. There's nothing in the history of our Creator that does sudden events, except for when they took out when they wiped out everything on the planet with the Great Flood. That was a sudden event. And you look at our archaeology, there's not many sudden events there, and in geology, but the Great Flood was very much a sudden event. But the story is clear as to why the event happened. The Creator, everything that was part of the earth then was just pissed at the demigods and sub-gods that made this place just a den of sin. The whole planet was just a mess. And so the Creator just did an Etch-a-Sketch. And then so many stories from different traditions, Tibetan. I forget to do the transitions, guys. Sorry, this is what I was talking about, the Fox News piece about acting general, ex-acting DNI Grenell, Department of National Security chief. So he was the big poobah for many, many, many months. But before that, he was very much inside the bubble. And so the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are not wings of this beast. The Democrat Party and the Republican Party sit kind of on top of the beast. And I felt the beast when I was there in D.C. I really felt that the politicians did not have control of what Washington, D.C. and the U.S. federal government was. The bureaucrats could just run circles around everybody who was elected. And it just wasn't until they came down hard with the purses and the monies that there was any kind of movement But there really wasn't. There was shuffling around. There's always been shuffling around. But people don't get fired in D.C. You get shuffled around. So there's no accountability in that place. And I felt that when I was working there back in, ironically enough, 2001, when 2001, during the first Gulf War. You know, I went there with a lot of strength and understanding, and survived and was part of the Louisiana political machine. So I was pretty good at what I did. When I got to D.C., I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is out of control. The president doesn't have control of this country, you know, this federal government. These congressmen and senators don't, you know. These bureaucracies are more powerful than any elected official. And so Trump learned that, he knew that, and he's come in really busting all of these deep state officials, and they're hating it. That's why all this is happening, man. That's why Antifa exists and is well funded. That's why Black Lives Matter exists and is very, very, very well funded. And then you'll also have the corruption of the media, which is also very, very, very corrupt and very well funded with its own deep state agenda. So that's why they never talk about Black Lives Matter in the realistic way that they need to. That's why they never talk about Antifa, George Soros, because that's where the real money comes from. That's their paycheck for all this mainstream media. It's not the money that they make from their companies that they work for. Oh no, 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 no. These people are corrupt. They're bribed. They get gifts. They get fawned on. I'm talking about the mainstream media people. So, and that's why the YouTube news community has grown, because we don't get any of that. We work hard, and our trade is honesty in what we present. And then you, the viewers, appreciate that. And then other things get out into the viewership, and that's the stuff that we've been talking about a lot, which is UFOs, and the fact that aliens have been on the planet for quite a while. Hey, Graham. Hi, Spartan. And, you know, and people that are elevated in all this, like Spartan, you know, they suffer because the mainstream media fed community, which is the medical community, the psychology community, they're all in an unholy hell, to be frank, because they're not prepared for what is actually happening. So one of the biggest things that, and by big I mean big, one of the biggest things that is happening that no one's talking about is there are two large objects next to the sun, and they're generating activity. There's just no doubt about that. And a lot of y'all really can't wrap your heads around that either. I'm not being dismissive or talking down to you, but you know, the fact that we have two large objects next to the sun unexplained by anybody should be very, very, very concerning. And yet nobody really, all right, here they are. Wow, that's big. Oh, yeah, I got to go to work. I got to go do grocery shopping. I got things to do. I got bills to pay. But what about the two objects next to the sun? The hell am I going to do about that? What are they? I don't know. Shouldn't you be worried? I don't know. Why is anybody doing it? I don't know. Let's tune into the Breadcrumbs Project and see what they have to say. Well, we see it. Here it is in red and black. If you go to Wages World Today, and you should, he speaks deeply about this object that's next to the sun. One of a fellow YouTuber by the name of Scott. I don't know who that is yet. I'm sure I'll be finding out through all of y'all's commentary. You know, this has been going on for a while, like a long time. Wage just when in this And this video says, yeah, that him and Scott have been following this large round object, and then there's that other small winged object that's at the south end of the sun, and you know they've been seeing this object a lot and its behavior. So let's listen to what our friend Wage has to say about this. Let me cue it up. All right.
Look at this, guys. And again, Scott sent these to me. Now, most of these don't even have a filter on them. Some of them were adjusted this a little bit. But what's happening? We get a lot of questions. How can something move that fast? Right? Because I see a ball like over here and it moves off the screen in like just a few hours. We are no way saying that our object is moving that fast. Okay? What we're saying is that this object is here, right? See, it's called, basically it's instigating the CME. That energy hits our object and lights it up. And then, as that energy leaves our object, it holds that shape a little bit because it just went over top of that shape. And it almost looks like it expands out and becomes bigger as it exits. Okay, that's what we notice. But you can clearly see, if you look at this, well, I'm going to leave it zoomed out because you can see it better. You see the dark right there it's a hard edge circle. That's a sphere. And you can see the energy itself, the lighter colors. Okay? I mean, it's hard to deny something like this, guys. And this isn't the only time we catch this thing. Scott's caught it so many freaking times now, it's amazing. And it's always in the right spot at the right time. It's just like this one is. So, I mean, look at that. It's just hard for me to not be like, wow, look at that. You know, what more can we say than just to show you what we're seeing? You know? Because you can, like I said, you can clearly see that this thing is not, it's like the energy's hitting it and going around it. You can see it.
Yeah, that's what's happening. We have this object that no one really cares to talk about except for a few YouTubers. So I mean, so interesting times, and this is so much bigger than Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Literally, so much bigger. Look at the size of that object in comparison to what the sun is. Now that black dot isn't the actual full size of the sun. The sun is a little bit smaller than that. But is that a binary sun? You know, is that the sun of Nibiru? Because it's generating energy, and it's generating energy between it and our sun, and maybe that's what's made our sun become so active and bright. So we're doing breaking groundwork here on the Breadcrumbs Project, guys. All 13 of y'all, please hit the like button so I know you're here. But this is hard science that we're applying to the observations that we're seeing, and we're just not hearing anything from our government. And one of the more incredible things that, let's see if I still have it pinned here. If you remember this, most of y'all are some good conspiracy theorists. In 2018, in September, mid-September 2018, well, actually, yeah, mid-September 2018, the government Black Hawk helicopters swooped in on the Sunspot Observatory in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and shut the place down for a week, as well as shut down their post office. And something around the same time made the internet. And it was this GIF, and it was the GIF that has been giving now a lot. Let me reload it so that the GIF will run. And you're going to see something, if you haven't seen it already, that's absolutely incredible. So here's the transit of the moon. And here's another object going in the opposite direction. This was filmed at that observatory that was shut down. And so this made it into the alien researchers' dark web. And this, I mean, can't fake this. This was legitimate. So NASA, the group that lies, and lies well, and gets paid to do it well for good reasons, said, wow, yesterday, again, this is September 2018. So this was released by NASA September 11th, 2018, and then within a day or two of this, the Black Hawks swooped in on the observatory that filmed this and shut that mother down for a week, as well as the post office. So when they leaked this, they didn't leak it through emailing it, because the person that leaked this to the alien and research community and the UFO community, they didn't want to be identified. So they probably put it on several pin drives, and then were mailing it through the U.S. Post Office, and that's why they got the post office got shut down, and probably they tried to catch everything that was going out, but by then it's just got too late, and then so they had to release the information of UFOs. The Pentagon did the next year, and this is also when we had Oumuamua, Borisov, and the crazy comet activity that we've been experiencing. So you have the moon going in one direction, and something just as big as the moon from what this camera can see going in the other direction. The moon came back last night in a different place and shining, I'm sure. So, so this, along with what we see here, fits hand in glove. And of course, we'll never see this with our own eyes because the sun is too bright, but the equipment sees it. And something that Wage has been noticing is that, I mean, they're full 8 hours of data on these on the data that they release for people like, enthusiasts like Wage and others like this guy Scott to see, but they'll have whole chunks of data that are not available. Like 8 hours. And Wage goes into it in this video as well. This is a very, 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 very eye-opening video. Large object causes halo CME. It's a half hour long, and it's worth every minute. Let's go to the beginning of the video. So we saw this last night. We were looking at this last night, and I think it's worthwhile that we get an explanation from the man that knows what this is all about. So we're going to listen to Wage talk about this. The gases from the comets and Venus could be affecting us. Nemesis. Ironically enough, the comets do not give off gases. So we've proven that again and again and again on the channel, and I think it's probably before you joined. But the comets and Partha and I both agree on this strongly, because of the visual science that we've been able to see from landing on active comets is that they're made of dust and rocks, and the stuff that we see is electrical in nature. It's not gas in nature, because we couldn't see gas through our through our atmosphere, day or night, we're not going to see gas in space. I don't give a. We don't see gas here. How are we going to see gas in space, right? We see smoke. We're able to see smoke, but we can't see any gases. Well, space is a vacuum, so you're just going to see it less. What we can see from the planet Nemesis is electrical events. And so the comets going through, they're negatively charged by the time they're coming through our atmosphere, and they're going through a very highly charged, positive, ionized atmosphere that's going this way. That's why the tail's always going away from the sun, because those are electrical events. And basically, that's just the ionized matter that the comet has already traveled through. So when we see the head of the comet, it's supercharged. It's just imagine static electricity just giving off pow, 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 thousands of times, but amp the static electricity by, crank it up to 11 if you have to, just get the imagination of how much power is being discharged by that negatively charged mass going through a highly positively charged environment. So there's no gases given off by comets. It's just highly ionized charged particles that relax after a few days, and they finish discharging. So that's why we see the tail of the comet fade. So let's go ahead and listen to our good man Wage. Let me get it queued up to where he comes in. Good man. He is a good man. Wage's World. If you haven't gone there, well, the dust is affecting us. Gas was wrong term. There is no dust. It's all held together by weak gravity. So the dust that is part, and I'm not picking on you, Nemesis. What is affecting us? Yes, we're greatly affected, and the comets are affecting us. But it's the electricity that they generate. If you watch, if you go to Igor at Against the Grain, he does a great job of educating us, where you can follow a comet and see that as it goes around the planet, you have disturbances along the way. You have earthquakes, flooding, strengthened weather patterns, huge storms. So as the comet passes the Earth, as it goes along that way, and where it interfaces, and Igor has documented it, hours and hours of it. They affect our weather, they affect our mood, and they affect our vibration. So, but it's not dust and it's not gas. It is the electrical patterns, because we are electrically based creatures. Gas, dust affect us, yes, but electricity affects us much bigger. All right, so let's tune into our man Wage at Wage's World, and I really can't wait to meet the guy.
Hey guys, Wages World here. Blue Kool-Aid talking to you. And yeah, it's June 8th, 2020. Come at you with a video. We're going to start here with the Schumann, but we've had that big CME I was telling you guys about, but it actually lit up our object too, in a pretty massive, in-your-face kind of way. So we're going to take a look at that too. Also, the CME tracker did actually update for that CME. It did not come at us. Okay, I'm going to put that out there straight up, and I've already said that, but I do want to point that out, that it's not coming at us. We don't have to worry about any of that, but we'll talk about that as we get to it. And there's a couple other things here I want to speak about too, but like we always do, we're going to start here on the Schumann. And guys, I'm going to start calling these OG vibrational spikes. Okay. What you're seeing here, guys, is what I would consider a classic looking spike, okay, in our Schumann. And anybody don't know what this is the vibrational frequency of the Earth. It's between our ionosphere and basically the surface of the Earth, the vibrations inside that, I guess, bubble, I guess you could call it. There's a whole lot more to it than that too, but the 7.83 hertz level is right here. That is our constant. That's supposed to be there. All right. But as we've been talking, we now have a second constant that's not going away either. Right around, looks to be about the 13, 14 range. Okay. Also, it does look like that we're starting to get another one and another one, right? Now, look guys, this is a good way to show you guys. You see this right here? That's another way to show you guys that our frequency is rising. And what I mean by that is, if you go over here to this, it's not there, right? So something was different here. But this is becoming more normal than this is. So as we see that continue, this is observational proof that our frequency has risen already. Just the fact that this one, this line here, never goes away anymore. It's always there. It never goes back to blue. Not one time. You're not going to see it like that ever again, probably, in your life. If it does go back, well, you know, whatever. But I do think that our frequency will continue to rise. A whole lot of reasons for that. But, you know, again, a whole lot of other channels talk about the reasoning and theories behind that. There's so much into that it would take a series. You can almost dedicate a whole channel to it. Matter of fact, there are channels dedicated just to that. It is such a big subject and such a lot to talk about there. All right, and I try to just touch on it to give people a basic understanding. But what we're seeing here, guys, is what I call an OG spike. All right, there is no pulsing. It's solid all the way through. Okay, now if you look at this, on the top of it, it looks like it isn't. That's normal, okay, because that is, that's not a pulse. All that means is the data point is vertical in this, right? So it means it just wasn't picking up that hertz level up here. That's all it was. That's all that means. When I'm talking about spikes, not spikes, but pulses, it goes all the way through, okay? It stops completely. And, you know, I've shown that multiple times. Matter of fact, you can kind of see it starting to happen here. Okay, on this second spike. You see how this kind of fades off into reds and greens, reds and oranges right there into that white? That means it's starting to pulse a little bit. That frequency is just not there. So, you know, these are pretty much old school spikes is what I call them, right? OG spikes, that kind of thing. Because they're solid. They're not pulsing like we had been seeing. But, fear not, the pulse comes back right away. So, you know, you can even see it here. But that's what I would say to that. So, if you're having some funky stuff going on with you're ringing in your ears and stuff like that, these spikes could be the reason for it. And plus migraines, sleeplessness, even, you know, feeling mad or mean or feeling good or, you know, just really happy. These things can, you know, this stuff does do that. You see both ends of the spectrum here, okay?
All right. I really wanted to get to that point because both, and I can hear it in his voice, and I've gone back and done some research on some videos that Wage has done, and, you know, he's as pragmatic as I am, if not more, and because he likes science, man. He loves his faith, which is very basic. He's not into the new agey UFO-y thing. It's not his style. But he also can't deny what he sees, you know. He's as country as I am. And he'll say it as I do. Man, I don't know what that is. But it's got feathers like a duck. It waddles like a duck. Sure does quack like a duck. And flies like a duck. I don't know, fellas, ladies. I'm going to say that's a duck. May not be one I've seen before, but I've got 4 or 5 things that tell me that's a duck, so I'm going to call it a duck. Yeah? All right. That's good enough for me. Now, Wage has seen 2 UFOs next to the sun. A partner of his has been following it for quite a while, the big round one, and I need to get more information on that. And Wage is the guy independently saying that the vibration, the frequency of humanity, of the planet Earth, and this is being measured, like we've talked about, from the planet Earth to the ionosphere, the upper portions of the atmosphere, there's a vibration increasing in humanity on the planet, within the planet. And it's affecting us. Yeah, I've talked about it a few times. For about 3 or 4 months, I had really bad ringing in my right ear. Really hard, really bad, very uncomfortable. And, you know, I did some research, attributed to tinnitus in an ear. I did some little remedies and whatever I could do at home, and really wasn't making a big difference. So, 54 years old, learn to live with it, Charles. You had good times, and you listened to some great bands, way too loud. They told you this would happen. And then about a month ago, it kind of just went away. And then every once in a while, I'll get different ringings. And what happens to me with the ringings, it'll happen in one ear. I won't get it in both ears. And the network engineer in me, a long time ago, said, well, hell, somebody's downloading something. If it was a frequency coming in that was generalized, I would get it in both ears. But I'd always get my ringing in one ear. I'm like, all right, like my third eye, there's something happening. I feel it's communication in nature. So that's my assumption. That was my assumption going forward for a long time. And now Wage says it right there. And he is a person that's affected by energy waves such as that. Television sets, which do give off some very high frequencies, especially the older sets. Emma, you're right here too, huh? Thanks, Graham. I'll try to get over there. And unfortunately, I have to rely on you guys to watch these other channels because I do not have another moment to squeeze in another channel. So I do my morning research, and I have the people that I trust, and it's such good information that I'm getting from them that I bring it to you, and then I go to work, which I love to do. Work. I'm not going to quit that. And then I come on and then I go for a little bit of a walk, process everything that's going on, and then come in for the evening session, which is a brain dump from Partha to us. Thank God he feeds us in spoonfuls and with great kindness and not demanding anything of us. If you have an opportunity to send a donation to Partha, I would be grateful if you could. If you haven't already, he spends a lot of time with us and deserves that kind of support. Thank you, Emma. I like working hard. It's I'm Basque, half Louisiana redneck, with English roots, and of working class English roots. There's no royalty in any of this. None. Interesting, guys. Y'all are a bunch of right ear people. Wow. What a coincidence. What a fantastic group. So, yeah, it's happening, guys. It's happening. It's happening as predicted. It's happening as the Q has been talking about. Does anybody need the link for the Deep State Mapping Project, the Q? Speak now. I'm going to be winding things down here shortly. Not really, actually. I've got a good bit of time for my next appointment today. So yeah, we're going to keep on hitting that Q map very, very hard over the next several weeks, and really spend time deciphering that for those that come seeking. Again, there are plenty that come seeking, and those that come seeking, they really appreciate the information that we are developing here on this channel. And nobody's talking about it like we are, because we follow breadcrumbs. You know, the stuff that Wage is producing is just not, it's not isolated. It's not, these are not isolated events. What he is observing is an ongoing epic event, and he's providing his channel of information. Well, we see that as a tripwire. We call it a clue. But to us, those are breadcrumbs, because it's just not isolated. These are not isolated events that are happening. The stuff that Partha talks about, the things that he does, and the way it is so with effortlessly. You know, it's not like you have to take great leaps in some of the things that we think and believe in to believe in. Partha is not asking us to believe in anything. He just presents information, historical and astrological, and just weaves it all in nice together. And we're like, yeah, I see that. That's not a stretch for me. Oh, you want me to believe that a comet is made of ice? Well, that's a heavy stretch. And that's a scientist that's demanding, I believe, that a comet is made of ice, or he'll get huffy and mad and leave and say bad names and call me bad things. It's happened many times. Physicists. I present them the basic information that the sun is an electrical event. It is not nuclear in nature. Man, they get pissed. Demand that you believe in their religion, that they've been just like any church. You know, the man says it from the pulpit. The people in the crowd, in the audience, in the class, in the master's program, in the PhD program, regurgitates it, and then you are saved. You cannot question anything in their dogma. Anything in their dogma of academic science. And I'm talking about the academic soft sciences. I don't think I have to name those, because there's a shitload of them now. Nemesis, my problem with listening to Partha forever is I get full. I mean, it's just like a meal, you know? Damn, this pizza is good. I'm going to tear it up. 3 slices in is like, I can't eat no more. I just don't have no more stomach. I've got limited brain capacity. You know, so when my buffer's full, it's full. And the beautiful thing about my buffer is it doesn't want to drop information. So when I get full, I just need to process what I take in. Can I regurgitate it to you? No. Can I go back and point out where I saw this information and how well it goes in with it? Yeah, I can do that. That's called research. But I don't believe what Partha believes. I can't. I don't have an Indian tradition. He teaches, I learn. But he's not asking me to believe in the corpus of all the Hindu and Tibetan entities that are out there. He'll talk about them. But these are my theories, and this is what I present to you. And I don't ask you to believe in any of this. This is just what I see. Okay, good night, Charles. You know, and just information just bleeding from my ears, from every cavity. You just, you know, it's like watching gas. You can't see it. But I'm like, yeah, and then I go back and produce the Zoom videos, which I need to go back and do that. I haven't had any time to do that. And then I can rewatch the work that he's done. and can process it better the second time, third time. Again, Mick Aston on the Time Team, which is a brilliant archaeological television show. If you want to binge watch something, if you're looking to binge watch Time Team on YouTube. It's free and it's just booyah full of information. But it teaches you how to do research. It teaches you how to think about the research that you're viewing. And Mick Aston being the top dog, everybody always goes come to him. Well, what about this? What about this? Oh, that's great. I'll go have a think on it. All right then. I'll be back. And there he goes off, waddles off doing the Mick Aston way with his multicolored jumper. And then he comes back. He talks to a couple of the guys, and I see this, okay, and then Stewart just like lays everything out, and then Mick just wraps it all up nicely, and then puts a little bow on it, and just smiles, and just with his Einstein hair in his just charming way. But he has to think about it. He can't tell you exactly everything immediately. Everything that's happening has to be processed. Eventually, you'll get the information, but not immediately. Hi, Joshua. Again, Time Team. It's all over the YouTube machine, and it's just great, man. And there's also heartbreak because Mick passed away several years ago, and anybody that loves that show is still tore up about that. A brilliant mind taken way too early. Everything's beautiful here in Spain. Let's take a look. There's that weird cloud cover that I've just never seen around the country before, but is ever present. Beautiful day. The sun is behind me. You are now facing directly west. So the sun's behind me in the east, and as you look across that way, you're hitting the coastline of Florida. So that's a direct shot to Florida, thereabouts. And that ever-present cloud cover. I took some pictures of the sunset last night, which was nothing like has ever been a sunset around here before. And it's just so bright, But I'll present those photos this evening. Yeah, Emma, it's gorgeous. And again, that mountain right there, that hill, is covered in dry stone walls, which are Celtic walls in nature. And then there's at the top of the hill, but on the other side, facing the ocean, is a wonderful circle and worship area. I may go do a live stream from there one day so that y'all can get a feel for it. It's just an amazing, very ancient, very sacred area. One of the most sacred areas in all of Celtic history. So this is a very powerful place with ancient Celtic energies. Don't be jealous. Come visit. All are always welcome. And yeah, everything's supposed to be opening up next month. Spanish tourism. So if you've been thinking about doing the Camino de Santiago, this would be a perfect time to do it. And I will be here when you finish the Camino to greet you. Yeah, come visit, come hang out, drink wine. You know what? I didn't know I always felt I was a creature of the ocean. But when Partha did my astrological reading and saw Aquarius in there somewhere, he said, "Oh yes, your water is very important to you. You should always be near the ocean." And I've always been near water. The state of Louisiana is basically a floating island for the most part, but I've always been not far from a river, not far from a stream, and then for the last 10 to 12 years, there's always been a body of water near my home. The Gulf of Mexico for 5 years when I lived on Pensacola Beach, and the Bay of Biscay when I moved here to Spain, and now the Atlantic Ocean, where Atlantis is somewhere located, is my view, and I'm surrounded by it because I'm on a peninsula. So I've definitely benefited from the energies that I get here. My life has changed a lot. Yes, I'm a Cancerian. Ah, and that's the thing about someone that can do astrology really well. They can tell you more about you than you know about you. You have feelings, you have very strong feelings, but you talk to a person that understands astrology and that can divine these things. And I remember at a at an end of legislative session in Louisiana. Uh, whenever you do your state legislature usually is a 3-month adventure, and they're not like the Congress that's open and working year round. Legislators have real jobs, and they all come to the state capitol for a month or 3, and you have your whatever bills get passed, whatever bills get vetoed, whatever bills get signed that go into law. It's just a great sausage making factory, and voters, the state, and lobbyists make it really fun and intellectually stimulating. And the games are played at a political level, especially a state like Louisiana, where it is a contact sport. It is a fan-based sport because Louisiana towns and parishes, they played the politics too, and so it's yeah, it's a full-time sport, that's for sure. But whenever we have Sanida, which is the close of session when that gavel raps, then everybody goes to a big party. And one year, a lobbyist group hired a very. They said it was a she was a oh, what is well, yeah, she was an astrologer basically. People call them gypsies, people call them psychics, but this one was a very well established. She was very young, but the lobbyist told me that it cost him a pretty penny to do this session, and so I was very Catholic at the time, and I sure in the heck was not going to talk to a psychic. That was the devil right there. So I wasn't going to go see her. A few drinks, a little bit of dancing, hanging out with everybody, and they were like, "Let's go do it. Let's go do it. Come on, let's go do it. Come on, Charles, let's go. Come on, don't be like that. Come on, do it. All right, let's go talk to." I mean, what can happen? Liquid bravery. So I get in there, I give her my date of birth, and man, she just lays out my life. She laid out my life in detail of my past that few people could have ever known. That I travel the world, my multiculturality, and just so many things that just blew me away. But the one thing that she told me that very few people knew about me, that in my youth I was political and traveling the world, and just a bunch of other details. I walked out of that meeting, that session, really quiet for a real long time. Made happy faces to everybody, but didn't, I was game face. Nobody knew how it impacted me, but that astrologer, she knew what the hell she was talking about, just like Partha. And so Partha knows more about me than I know about myself. Nemesis knows more about me than I know about myself, because I just do me. I can't read my own astrology, and it doesn't stick in my head. You can tell me all this stuff, because generally it changes because we've moved more in my story. I'm 54 years. Now, that was 30 years ago. So the complexities of my astrology are complex. It blows me away. A bit scary. Never asked to know about my future. I like that to play out as best as I can play it out. All right, going to start wrapping things up here. Also, I really have to make a huge note that um, for the past easily 30 years, um, I have not, when I slept hard and I did not dream. Very few nightmares, relatively few nightmares. And when I did have dreams, they were pretty impactful and meaningful, and that's where I would get my deja vu experiences. But I just wasn't a person that dreamt a lot. And for the past 3 years, I've been dreaming really hard, and my sleep pattern's been interrupted. And my family, my mom, my sister, and I, we were noted for our sleep champions. Um, and but for the last 3 years, it was disturbed. I've gotten that steadied, but I just dream and dream and dream and dream and dream continuously. So even when I wake up in the morning, um, I'll lay in bed and just shut my eyes for a little while, and then I'll go into a dream state, hour or so, and then I'll come back, and then I'll wake back up, and a little bit tired because the dreaming is hard and busy, and then I look at my Apple Watch and I'm like, the hell was I doing last night? Just all the ups and downs. When I first got my Apple Watch, it was like, you go into deep sleep, and you have your ups and downs, and you control over the events that are happening. No, but we have so many sources to understand it, to be able to have some predictions of what's occurring now that we have a better focus and a bigger group that can speak to it. Do I fear, flooding and something hitting the earth, anything like that? Not at all, man. I feel very comfortable from the law of one and from many other sources that this planet is cared for, curated, coddled, and protected. You can look at it as parents with two sets of triplets that are having an evening together, and they have a playroom that is cordoned off. Everything that's in that playroom is designed so those kids can't hurt themselves. Everything is foam rubber and everything. They just can go at it. Parents are going to have a nice time. They're going to relax. They're going to have cocktails, and they're just going to wait till somebody cries, because that will eventually happen, which is a prayer, a cry from us. The required parent will go over, attend to the situation, make it all better. All right, go at it. I'm going back to dinner. Half hour, 45 minutes. The real fear of a parent is when they don't hear any noise happening. When they have toddlers to teens. When you don't hear any noise, that's when you're like, whoa, they're planning something. I mean, that's what happened with the Tower of Babel. Our Creator and those around us said, oh, no. You stay in the playroom. You don't go up there, not yet. You're not old enough. Can't do that. You got to grow up a little bit more. No, not in like 10 years, 15 years. We're talking about thousands of years. You have generations to grow before you're ready for what we have, and that's going to be at the next age. You got 25,000 years of, I hit you with a flood, but the next 25,000 years are going to be pretty cool. You're going to have a good time. You're going to make some decisions, but you're going to have air conditioning. You're going to have running hot and cold water. So there's a lot of growing you guys have to do before you can start shooting off into space. So what I'm going to do is make sure, like with all good kids, if you keep them confused, where they don't plan shit together, then they stay in their little playpen and they don't escape. Because when they get quiet, that means they're trying to escape their playpen. Or they're trying to do something that you are not going to be happy about as the responsible party. And so that's how the earth is. Yeah, we had nukes go off. Big deal. The Creator knows that those spirits that were extinguished at that time, they have a journey. We are not very privy to what those exact details are, but the Creator and those that support us, death is not a big thing. To us here on the planet, like, any injury or anything else, we try to avoid death because that's kind of when our version of what we're doing right now checks out. How it plays out in the bigger role, we're finding out. But obviously, by what we see here from our man Wage, what has been predicted, what has been talked about in the Q map, is the elevation of our being, of our vibration, and it's going to be something that's going to take the whole world a long time to do. But the end of it is going to be fantastic, and it's going to be the golden age. So we can see it here in the science. We can feel it in our own vibrations. It just sucks that it's going to take a long time to do it because that's how the Creator works. Anton, unfortunately, the only thing you have choices in, Anton, is whether you think good thoughts or think bad thoughts, whether you do good deeds or do bad deeds, or whether you say good things or you think good thoughts. Those three things are the three things you really have control over. Everything else, man, the great thing that not only did this Fox News piece talk about D.N.I. Grinnell and talking about how bad the deep state actually is. There's an interview of Alveda King, who is one of the nieces of Martin Luther King, and she's taken the same pragmatic view that the Reverend took, which is, conservative, religious person that makes mistakes, but has a bigger view of the world that is. And, would Martin Luther King be happy about what's happening in America right now? No. No. His whole thing was, do not be judged by the color of your skin, but by the content of your character. Do rioters and looters have great content of character? No. Do left-wing activists have any content of character whatsoever? No. They are the hive mind. It is the conservative people that base their beliefs on their actions, not on the group, and that you have responsibility. We are rugged individualists. Those of us that are conservatives, we're responsible for ourselves. We're responsible for our families. We're responsible for our homes. We're responsible for our jobs. We are responsible. The leftists, all these rioters, tell us that no. You're responsible for all of us. You, the taxpayer, you, the hardworking taxpayer. You can no longer be protected by laws, and you owe us all of your money. You're responsible for us. That's the point of all the rioting. They're saying that we're responsible, that we are responsible for slavery that happened hundreds of years ago, that only the white people are responsible for slavery, and only the white Americans and people in England really are responsible for slavery, even though it still goes on today in the Middle East, and even though it was practiced by every ancient culture, it's only really Americans and the people from Great Britain that are Caucasian that are responsible to all of the endemic racism around the world. So Martin Luther King said, no, you're responsible for yourself. It's the content of your character that we should judge each other by. And that's not what's happening. In his name, by the way. In his name. And Alveda King said, look, I think the same thing as my uncle did. And this is one of his great quotes that nobody uses. We all came to America originally by different boats. Different boats brought the current generation of Americans there for the most part. Even the American Indians. The American Indians and the Hopi have a tradition that they were a sea people, but they came to America by sea. So everybody that's in America right now, one way or another, they got there by the sea. And he says, we came here by different boats and by different ships, but we're all in the same boat now, and so we have to make this a sound vessel to travel the ages. But the leftists, the militant left refuses to do that and is sinking a ship again. Anton, quite frankly, well, then what you said got you in a fight. And if you said it really bad, it might get you in a fist fight. And if you really get it bad in the wrong part of town in America, it might get you killed. So you have the right to say what you want to say, but the government is not going to protect you for what you say. You're responsible for it. All right, I've got to wind things off. Yeah, Parth is amazing. And he suffered for his knowledge and wisdom, guys. He didn't come by it easy, and he's not a celebrated person for what he has to say and think, except by those who really take time to listen and process what he has to say. All right, so I am winding up this bit. Any questions, Anton? Buffering? Let me see. Yeah, I'm not getting buffering on my end. Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Oh, okay. Got it now. Yeah, it's time for me to sign off anyways, guys. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Send me any questions that you do have at thebreadcrumbsproject.com. And let's go to a little bit of cha-cha-cha. Think good thoughts, do good deeds, and say good words. You're responsible for you. All right?